Beautiful day here in Southern California, like it is about 365 days a year. And we're enjoying our summer. It just became summer this week. So it's a great city. And thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you for coming. And we would like to know a little more about yourself. I know especially your combat decorator fighter pilot experience. Then we can go to your city council experience, please.
Now, I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. My father was a World War II bomber pilot over in Europe during the European D-Day invasion and the Battle of the Bulge. My father grew up in Minneapolis, but because of the cold weather in 1952, he moved his family to Phoenix, where I was born the following year. So I grew up as a Catholic family. I went to Catholic grade school and high school, and then went off to Arizona State University to study business. But I always wanted to do what my father did. He was a combat pilot, and I wanted to be a fighter pilot myself. Obviously, when I graduated from ASU in 1975, the jet age was in full swing, so I wanted to fly jets. And my first assignment was to fly the F-4 Phantom out of the air station at El Toro, California, which is in Irvine, which is my first duty station in 1977. So that's what brought me to Southern California. And then I went on to serve 30 years on active duty, rising to the rank of colonel. Then I became a commercial airline pilot with JetBlue Airways, flying the Airbus 320, then went into business as an executive and president of a company, and then went into politics, which I think you're going to go into here shortly.
Yes, very nice, very impressive career, and it's an honor to talk in order to talk to you on this show. And what made you to move from a army and then the pilot role to the politics and run for city council?
Well, when I was a lieutenant colonel in the late 90s, I worked in Washington, D.C. I picked up a master's degree in military science, and they assigned me to work at the White House. During the second term of the Clinton administration, I was the deputy chief of staff, and then later chief of staff of the White House military office. My office was in the east wing of the White House. My position was to ensure that the President of the United States, Vice President, and cabinet members were given military support, referencing Air Force One. That was a squadron that would move the president around the world. His helicopter squadron, his Camp David's run by the military, his whole medical team were military. So I oversaw that whole operation for 3 years. And when I was there, I worked at the Pentagon for a little bit, and I worked with Congress. So I got to enjoy, I wouldn't say enjoy, but I was exposed to politics at the very highest level, at the executive branch. I would fly with the President of the United States on Air Force One on all his major trips to ensure that all his military support was there. So that got me first interested in politics. When you're in the military active duty, you're not allowed to run for any political office. So I always wanted to run for something once I got out of the service.
Gotcha. Okay. Very nice. You are very exposure at highest level of the politics. At the White House and all the Congress people. So coming back to your city, Mission Viejo. So what changes you were looking for, and what changes you brought in to your city?
Well, in 2014, when I first got into politics, I originally ran for U.S. Congress for the seat that I'm running for now, the California 45th District. Our congressperson at the time was John Campbell was retiring, and so there's an open seat. I did not get past the primary. I came in third in the field. You had to be in the top two to move to the general election. So that was kind of a bridge too far, running for Congress right away. So I ran more of a local seat. I ran for Mission Viejo City Council, and out of 8 candidates, I got the most votes. So I'm in my second term. I was reelected in 2018. For 2 of those 6 years, I was the mayor pro tem, which is assistant. Somebody gets a chance to be mayor, we vote on the mayor. So 2014 to the present, I've been in local politics here at the city of Mission Viejo.
Okay, so what changes were you able to see and Mission Viejo during your service to the community? Our city?
Well, one thing about our city, it's a bedroom community. People like to raise their family here. We have 56 parks. We have 5 high schools and grades. We have numerous grade schools and middle schools. And it's a very safe city. We're always ranked in the top 10 as the most safest city in the United States. Crime is very low. And we run a balanced budget. And in 2019, when I was mayor, we were able to save about $4 million extra that brought in revenue we I didn't want to spend. And we put it in a rainy day fund. So we had about $25 million in reserve for just this moment, what's going on right now with COVID-19. And a lot of our businesses had to close, and the tax revenue is not coming in. So now, because of my fiscal responsibility and conservatism, we have money to continue to run the city, keep our parks open, maintain our roads, we have some beautiful slopes and trees, and keeping our people safe. We have a great police force here. We contract out to the Orange County Sheriff's Department with deputy sheriffs.
Very nice. That's a good, way to manage, and you guys are able to make some reserves for the future, the rainy day funds are what we call. But as you brought in the topic of COVID-19 pandemic, so let us cover that one a little bit, and then we'll go back to the other topics. During this time, during the pandemic time, many cities had a tough time in collecting the taxes because businesses are not open, so there is no sales tax. Sales tax will go to state, but there is no much revenue coming in. Property tax or the other things there are different revenue avenues which are slow down for the city, and they are running short on the revenues. So how is your city coping up with this situation, and how are you helping the businesses or the some of the communities where they need help? More especially whenever I talk to a city, they're talking about the elderly community. They are the one who need most of the help during this time. So what in your community I see, you have business, plus elders, and also you have a third parameter in the veterans. And so what kind of help you guys are providing, or what do you see, or what is the general scenario in your city?
Now, one thing about our city is, so once this happened, and in my lifetime, I've never seen anything like this COVID. I did not, you always worried about, earthquakes or something massive, but obviously you're seeing it on TV or on movies about the pandemic, but you never thought it'd be, this has been terrible. It's been so sad to see the schools had to close down and a lot of the small businesses. But we rallied as a city. We were able to put off some of the road work. We were going to repave some roads. We'd like to repave our roads every 7 years. We were able to put off some contracts to save money there. But our property tax has been good. We're getting about 96% of the people pay their property tax. So we thought it'd be down around 90% because some people won't have the money. But that has not been a problem. It's a very affluent city. The average income is about $110,000 per household, American dollars, which is really, really good. So people have money saved up to pay their property tax. There has been a downturn in sales tax. We get 1% of all sales tax, and we're down about $1 million. But like I said earlier, we have money in our reserves to handle that. We work with the elderly community. We have 2 senior communities in our city. We have a food bank. We have people that deliver food if people need it. We have doctors that will talk to the elderly on the phone if they can't come in. So we really rallied together as a city and as a community to help our people. And we were just given $19 million from the county to help our small businesses, where they can apply for grants. And now, if they've lost money, to keep their businesses open. So our small businesses now are applying for these grants, along with the PPP program, which was a federal program to help the medium and larger businesses. Now this grant money coming in from the county has really been helping a lot.
So very nice. Hopefully, things will revive, and people will come back to at least normal or new normal, whatever it is, and businesses will go well, and then People will be able to work and then generate revenue and take care of their families and all those things. So let's hope for that. And coming back to your run for the Congress, so I know you've been running for the Congress for I think a few terms. So what is it keeping you from keep running for the Congress? I mean, this is a third or fourth time you're running for the Congress. So
Right.
yes, three times, yeah. So what is that? What is it motivating you to still not give up and then still continue to run? I know I can see your fighting skills. I mean, spirit, which is there. I mean, but I want to know the political side of your spirit to keep your campaign going.
Well, I've been in service my whole life. I started at 8 years old as a Cub Scout, and then as a Boy Scout, I became an Eagle Scout. And I learned at a very young age. And I come from a very large family of 8 children. I have 4 brothers and 3 sisters. All 5 of us boys became Eagle Scouts. My parents were just amazing. They taught us at a young age to give back to the community constantly. Don't think about yourself, think of others. And as a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout, and then in high school, my dad we were probably lower class. We didn't have a lot of money, so I wanted to go to a Catholic high school with all my friends, but we couldn't afford it, so I had to pay my own tuition at a very young age. I mowed lawns at a lawn service. I delivered handbills at a paper route, so I was able to go to a Catholic school with my friends. So I learned at a young age the value of a dollar and the value of service. So when I was young, I always liked helping. I was my class president of my high school senior class. And when I went to Arizona State University, the first thing I did was join the Marine Corps officer program to become a military officer as soon as I graduated from college, because I wanted to continue to serve. This time I wanted to serve my country. Maybe I just liked wearing uniforms. As a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout, even in a khaki school, we had to wear uniforms. So it was not hard for me to put on the Marine Corps uniform. And off I went to flight school in Florida and in Mississippi. And then I came out here to California. Once I received my Navy wings, I was a designated Navy aviator. And I thought I'd serve for about 6 years in the military, but I really enjoyed flying. I flew mostly off of aircraft carriers, the USS Midway, the Abraham Lincoln, the Ranger, the Kitty Hawk, Constellation, the Lexington. And I stayed for 30 years, and I retired in 2004. And when I went I went as a JetBlue pilot. I enjoyed that, but it wasn't the same. I wanted to get back into service. And then I became president of a company, and I really enjoyed that. And I enjoyed working with my employees and ensuring that they were taken care of. And then when I sold the company, I decided to run for Congress. Why Congress? Like I said earlier, I know Washington, I know the executive branch, I know the legislative branch, and I thought I'd be a great fit with my resume to be a congressman, to represent not just Mission Viejo, but the other 10 cities in the district, the 45th Congressional District. Now, when I ran in 2014, I said earlier I came in third. And a lady named Mimi Walters won the race, and she's a Republican. I'm a Republican. Thinking she would never, ever lose. This is a very Republican district, although in the last few years there's been more and more registered Democrats coming into the district. But she did lose in 2018, which gave me another opportunity to run for this seat. I really thought long and hard, because running for Congress is not easy. You have to raise millions of dollars to get your name out there. But I had pretty good name ID. I sit on the Veterans Advisory Council for the County of Orange. I was appointed by Orange County Supervisor Lisa Bartlett. I'm a member of my Elks Club, the Lodge, Elks Lodge. I'm a president of the Mission Viejo Rotary Club. I sit on the Energy and Environment Committee for the Southern California Association of Governments. I'm a member of the American Legion, the Veterans of Foreign Wars. So I was well known in the district. And so in 2020, we had our primary on March 3rd. There were 6 of us Republicans running, and I got the most votes. I got just under 40,000 votes. And the gentleman that came in second about 28,000 votes. So I won overwhelmingly in the primary. So this is my last gas ad as a runner for Congress. I feel very confident we can win on November 3rd.
Good. I mean, very nice to hear your journey in this process. So, what is it the current Congresswoman in your district is missing? I mean, she's I think Katie Potter. I mean, what is she's missing, and what are you running to improve on?
Well, I'm not saying she's missing anything. Obviously, she's our sitting congresswoman, and she ran against Mimi Walters, so I'm running against her. That's just the American way. It's usually the two major parties. I have nothing against her personally, but I feel that I've been a homeowner in this district for over 40 years. Although I did move, obviously, to Washington, I did serve a year in Japan. I've always kept residency here in California. I raised my 3 children here. My daughters, I have twin daughters that are school teachers in the city of Irvine, which is the largest city in the 45th Congressional District. I have a son who's a major in the Marine Corps. He's an aviator himself, which is pretty cool. My father, World War II, I was Desert Storm, and my son was Iraqi Freedom. We're all combat decorated aviators. And I know the district, 10 cities in the districts are all run by Republican mayors. They've all endorsed me but one. I'm working on that 10th one, but he runs in a very Democratic city, and he'll come around. But I feel I know this district. I've lived in this district. Irvine, which is the heart of the district, was the home of the 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing, which was a large contingency of fixed-wing fighter jets. And Tustin was the home of the helicopters, all in Southern California for the Marine Corps. And both bases were shut down in 2000. A lot of those veterans stayed here after they retired. So what I want to do is, there's about 120,000 veterans in Orange County, about 80,000 in the 45th District. My job as a congressman, what I want to do is bring a veteran cemetery to Orange County. Because right now, if you're a veteran and you pass and you want to be buried at a military cemetery, a veteran cemetery, you have to go to Riverside, which is a long drive away. I want to bring a veterans hospital to the county. We have over 4 million people that live in Orange County, so I'd like to bring a veterans hospital. So I think my experience in the military and veterans affairs, I can help our veterans. But that's not the only issue. We're a very affluent county and district, and I want to continue to bring businesses here. We're a Democratic state run by a Democratic Assembly and a Democrat Senate, and obviously a Democrat governor. And a lot of businesses are leaving the area because of the high tax rate and the high gas tax rate. So I'm going to work really hard to try to bring down taxes to keep businesses here. And as a Democrat, Katie Porter, she tends to be more tax and spend, tax. And I'm just the opposite. As I told you earlier, when I was in high school, I paid my own way, and I know the value of a dollar. And when I was mayor, like I said, I saved money. We brought in more money than we spent, which is very unusual in government, because as soon as the money comes in, they want to spend that money. And I said, absolutely not. This is not our money. This is the taxpayers' money. And unfortunately, it's easy to spend other people's money. And in government, you see that, especially at the national level. The sense of spending at the national level is terribly out of control, and I'll do everything in my power to get under control, like I've done with my own finances and what I've done when I was the mayor of Mission Viejo and what I'm currently doing as a city council member in Mission Viejo. So personally, I have nothing against Katie Porter, but I believe her liberal views do not fit the mold here in the 45th Congressional District. But the voters will decide on November 3rd, and we'll find out. Greg Ratz, the conservative, decorated Marine, against Katie Porter, who is a liberal professor from the University of California, Irvine. So.
Gotcha. So you brought in few points, like, employment and the taxes, those kind of things. So during this time, I know, last few years it has been a good run for generating the employment in this country. And all of a sudden, this pandemic has eaten away most of the jobs which we had. The economy has created. So, what is your take on, creating the new jobs? And then in the same day, you brought in another point. California is becoming expensive. Especially the Bay Area and the LA suburbs are very expensive. From the housing point of view, or taxes point of view, or a cost of living point of view, it is very expensive. So what are the things which you think should do? As government should do to attract more business? Because even we hear most of the bigger companies are moving away from California to either Denver or Utah or Texas. Texas is the biggest attractor of the companies right now. So what is that? You have, or what do you think, in your views, government should do to attract these companies and improve the lives of the people in California?
Well, next week, July 1st, our gas tax goes up again in California. We have the highest gas tax of all the states in the United States. And even with this pandemic going on and with so many people out of work, the state continues to raise taxes on our residents. And a gasoline tax is so abusive to those that are barely making it and can barely drive their car to the stores now to go pick up food. But at the federal level, a lot of tax dollars leave California and do not come back to California. The federal government tends to spread that money out to other states. So I will work very hard as a U.S. congressman representing California's 45th district to ensure that a lot of that tax revenue comes back to the state to help these businesses and stay in business. One thing about running business in California, and I ran a business for several years, is there's so many regulations at the state level. It's just so hard to start a business and then maintain a business because of high taxation and so much bureaucracy. And a lot of it can be mitigated by just sitting down with the business community and talking to them. And I remember I had to lay off this young man who had a family, and I felt really bad about it. But it was in 2008, 2009 during the last downturn in our economy. And after about 4 months, I needed him back, and I called him back, and I said, hey, we're good to go. And he goes, well, I don't want to come back. I go, well, we got your job back. He goes, I'm on unemployment, making a lot of money. I'm on food stamps. I'm on Section 8 housing. He got all these government programs, and he was making more money than when he was working. And so I want to adjust, those programs to ensure that they're just kind of a stopgap as you need to get another job. So the federal government throws out a lot of money and wastes a lot of money. And I'm not saying they wasted on those particular programs, but I want to look into those programs and seeing why people do not want to come back to work when the government actually pays them more money not to work. So that's a problem. So I will work with all the local businesses in the 45th Congressional District and understand why they're leaving. I do have a pretty good idea why they're leaving. Not just the businesses, but my neighbors. They're, like you said, they're moving to Idaho, Nevada, Texas, California, because the taxes are so much lower and the cost of living so much lower. Just to build a house now in California, there's so much regulations. The first $200,000-$300,000 is just to get through all the regulations on to get the house even just started. So I'm going to work at the local level to work with the businesses and see what I can do as a federal representative to help them stay in our state.
Yeah, you're right. Many people, even especially in the Bay Area and also the suburbs of LA, people are selling off their old houses, and then with that money, they can retire easily, comfortably. Most of the states in the U.S. That's what the trend has been. And see, one side, California has multiple things. It has very rich people. You have famous personalities in the South. And you have big companies, large corporations. But when it comes to the Central Valley, I mean, you have, I mean, even if you go further south of LA, you see the unemployment is not employment is not that great. I mean, the way it is in the suburbs of LA or the Bay Area, even central California, the same situation. So, why is there anything which government is looking at improving the situation instead of moving the companies to different places of the country? They have options of moving to different parts of the California itself. So I don't know. I mean, what is stopping from the companies to stay back in California? Is it just the taxes or anything else?
I think it's the taxes and the regulations. And what I think Elon Musk is talking about moving Tesla out of California. He was in a battle with the governor. He's trying to get his company back to work, and the governor is saying, no, you can't work yet until this COVID-19 gets under control. So he's talking about moving his company, which is millions and millions of dollars, to another state.
Gotcha.
The current leadership and the governor is doing a good job. I believe he is more consumed with the power of being governor. He's not listening to the people. He's making a decision, blanket decisions. Our president has given the governors authority to handle each of their states, and I believe the governor should give the counties and the cities that same option. Because what happens in Mission Vale is totally different than what happens up in San Francisco or Los Angeles. Our COVID is very low. Our hospital has only one patient that is COVID positive. The beds, I think it's only 67% full, the hospital. A lot of the nurses, not a lot, but several nurses and doctors have been laid off because they can't do these other surgeries. So our governor's trying to keep us closed, and we're saying, wait a minute, we're doing well down here. We know, we adjusted. We know how to wear face covering. We know how to self-distance. We know how to handle ourselves in grocery stores or other stores, and we don't have the problem you think we have. But he thinks one size fits all, and I just don't believe that. And I believe what President Trump has done, he's given help to the states, but he's letting the governors handle it. And I believe our governor of California should let us mayors and supervisors of counties handle our own issues. And I just don't like the way he's handling it here in California. I may have gone off topic a little bit, but I just want to get that in there.
Got your views. Thanks for sharing your views on this. Coming back to the healthcare, I mean, you just brought up the healthcare, and that's one of your agendas for running the Congress. So the healthcare is another topic which is a hot point in the U.S. The cost of insurance is very high, and getting insurance, and you have to have an employment to get insurance. I mean, to get an affordable insurance at least. So with all these things, I mean, you said in your campaign, I mean, you would like to work on reducing the healthcare costs. So what is that you're looking at planning, and what is your plan on reducing the healthcare costs?
Well, I personally don't believe in one huge overall comprehensive healthcare bill. I would take each thing at a time. I want to continue to help the VA system. They help American veterans through their system, which has been doing much better since the Trump administration came in. I personally go to Long Beach Hospital as a veteran for medical care, and also there's a clinic in Laguna Hills. I don't have to because I'm on Medicare now because I'm over 65. So I really keep an eye on the VA, but they're doing really well. I also now, I just mentioned I'm on Medicare. Medicare seems to be doing well, taking care of our seniors. The co-pays are manageable for our elderly and our seniors. And then we also have Medicaid for those that are less fortunate who can't pay their insurance. So we have these programs that are run by the governments that seem to be doing pretty well. But if you're in between Medicaid and Medicare, there's that specific issue. If you work for a company that has the money, they'll supply benefits such as healthcare insurance to help you out. Most companies do have a copay you got to pay in each month. But also, The real problem is those people that work in companies that do not provide health care. They have to go out and pay for their own insurance, and that's very, very expensive. It is those people that I really want to work with to find a way to get those health care costs down, and I think there's a way of doing it. Number one is with our prescription drugs. Most major countries around the world have state-run medical medicine, and so these large prescription companies work with the states. Now, in the United States, we don't have that except for Medicare and Medicaid, but I want the federal government to see what they can do to reduce the cost of prescription drugs to those that are on insurance. If you can reduce the cost of prescription drugs, you can reduce health care. And also find a program, and I know the president is working to redo Obamacare in a way that is helpful to all those that need that insurance to reduce the price of health care. And I'm one of these that believe if you do have a pre-existing condition of some sort, they cannot turn you down for health care. And usually people think of Republicans that we're against that. Well, some may, but I'm not. I'm going to do everything in my power at the federal level to see what I can do and work with the healthcare facility, healthcare community to get the cost down for my constituents here in the 45th district, because that's a big concern. It's about 20% of the American economy, if not more now, is healthcare costs.
Thank you very much for your insights into this particular topic. See, you're saying that you would like to reduce the cost of the healthcare, which is one side, and you want to, while reducing the cost, you want to go back and work with the hospital, healthcare facilities. And the other side, just a few minutes back, you said that hospitals are laying off people during this pandemic because they are not able to do the elective procedures, and also the outpatients are not going on because they don't want to go to the hospitals because they have fear of getting the disease contracted to them. So with all, there are 2 points, and one is you want to reduce the cost to the end user, and you want to go back and negotiate with healthcare facilities. And third point is we have hospitals are struggling to survive and cutting down their own costs. How do we balance all these three?
Like I said, different cities and different counties have different issues when it comes to COVID-19. Orange County, California has one of the lowest percentage of positive cases in the state of California. I believe it's just starting that elective surgeries are now allowed in our hospitals so the doctors and nurses can come back to work. But the whole idea of shutting down the economy and keeping people in their homes was not to overwhelm the hospitals. In fact, one of the largest Navy ships, I believe it was the Mercy or the Comfort, came to LA Harbor to handle the overflow of all these people that were going to be stricken in a terrible way with COVID-19. That ship barely had a few customers on board. Our hospitals are not overwhelmed here in Orange County. So I believe we can start opening up. We know in the last 3 months how to handle COVID in a responsible way. We know how to self-distance and things like that. So my plea to our governor is let us handle our own communities. We know what to do. With 99.9% of those that get the virus recover, it's not this grim, everybody's going to die of this COVID that we were first taught when we first heard about it in February and March. We've learned now how to handle it. If you get sick, self-quarantine yourself. Don't be around people. If you're less than 65, you have a 99.99% chance of recovering. Also, we've learned don't put people back in nursing homes that have COVID because you can affect the other people. Send them to a facility where they can get better. So, again, I'm drifting, but let the counties handle each of these problems. We know what's best for our constituents and our citizens better than our governor. So what else did you want me to answer?
Thank you very much for your views on I want to get your views. Thanks for sharing your views on this. So we'd like to switch the topic to something else right now. in the middle of this pandemic, we got another hot topic grown in between. I mean, there is a Black Lives Matter. I mean, with a few incidents happened. So, how is it in your county? I mean, in your area, the Black Lives? No, in the supposedly we had a big. I mean. Incident, and there was the looting and also fire and all those things a few weeks back. So how is it now, and what are your views on this Black Lives Matter movement?
Well, I'm very concerned about the health and security of the people of Mission Viejo. You're okay there? All right.
I'm okay. I don't want. I'm muting my voice for a second.
Okay. I'm very concerned about the health and safety of my constituents and us in Orange County. We're a very safe city, but I grew up in the 60s during the civil rights movements. And yes, there was a problem back then. There was segregation. There was, if you want to go to a restaurant, whites ate at one part of the restaurant, blacks, which we call them now, African-American community, would eat in another. They had their own bathrooms. They had their own drinking fountains. If you're on a bus, you had to sit in the back of the bus. Obviously, a very tough time in our history that we worked on really hard through the 60s, 70s, 80s. And I grew up then in a community, a very diverse community in Phoenix. And 30 years in the Marine Corps, a very diverse organization. And I worked to ensure everybody was treated equal. And I never saw the problem in the military. We work as a team. And when I give speeches, I tell people, I said, when I was a commanding officer of a jet fighter squadron, and I went into combat in Desert Storm, I went into combat in Somalia, I did not just take my Republican Marines or my white Marines. I took all my Marines into combat. I didn't care the color of their skin. I didn't care about their political views. And we went in and we won each battle one by one. And that's the way I'm going to attack being a congressman. I am colorblind. We're all Americans. We all bleed red, and we work very hard. Now, the situation that happened in Minneapolis was a disgrace to the uniform of a police officer. What that police officer did to that gentleman, he basically murdered him on film in front of people, which was just absolutely wrong, was a crime, was murder. Keeping his knee on the guy's neck. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. That's just not the police officers that I know. I believe police officers like him are very few, and the majority of police officers are very hardworking to keep our community safe. And in my community, I work with the police officers. I do ride-alongs with the police officers. We have one police deputy. Her job is to look for homeless, help. As far as the Black Lives Matter movement, I can understand what they saw. The African American community saw one of their own being killed on live video, and that was just wrong. But there's black crime all around some of the inner cities, and we need to work on that issue too. So, but this is something that just can't be cured overnight. So I'll do everything in my power as a U.S. citizen, as someone who just loves everybody, to ensure that all our races, all the breeds, nationalities, we all get along, and I will strive for perfection. And I believe we do have a ways to go in our community, but it's gotten a hell of a lot better from the 60s when I grew up to where we are now.
So very nice. Thank you very much. I mean, I know the police department is a very valuable one, and all of the respectable people, and they help the community. And we have seen many incidences where they did help the local people. I mean, they helped a kid, I mean, playing a bike, and there are many instances where they have helped the people. There will be a few people in every community who gets the black marks to that particular society and the community. Unfortunately, this is one among them. But I understand. Thanks for your views. But this one is bringing another topic in the political environment, and also within the community, like defunding the police, and also the qualified immunity, and these kind of things. So what do you say about what is your take on these two topics right now?
I don't know where that came out of the blue to defund the police. I believe it came out obviously with the Minneapolis and the Atlanta problems, and then all the riots. And they look at the police as bad. And a police officer is the toughest job to ever. I mean, as a military officer, I can't even say what they go through. I mean, if you get a ticket, people are mad at you because you're giving them a ticket. If you're getting robbed and you get there too late. Where the hell have you been? I mean, it's a lose-lose proposition. They get yelled at if they're doing their job or if they're too late or something like that. But law enforcement is part of our American our history. You know, we have lawmakers that write laws. We have law enforcement that if someone is breaking the laws, they have to enforce the law. And then we have the judicial system that determines whether or not the person that was arrested or was cited is guilty or not guilty. So we have the justice system, and that's the way it has worked, and that's the way our government was set up, with the branches of government. You have the executive branch that executes the laws. But we need law enforcement, and I just don't see defunding the police, how that's going to, I don't just see that working. If you don't have a police force, where do people go for security and protection? You just can't set up a city militia of sorts. So in my city, I would never, ever think of voting to defund the police or take money away from the police. In fact, we just voted 2 weeks ago to increase the budget not increase the budget, but we added another police officer to protect our high schools. We have a police officer in all 5 of our high schools. They work with the students, and they have great reputations, and the students love these people, and there's no animosity. They see them as a servant. We want to keep our schools safe. As you saw in the last few years, there's been a rash of school shootings. Some very unstable people that they can just go into a school and start shooting up students. So we keep a police officer here in school hours at our high schools, and then we also go to our middle schools with the police officers. What they were doing was, after patrol, they would come back to the office and do their reports. Now, after they're done patrolling, they'll go to a grade school or a middle school to finish up their paperwork after school, just to provide some protection, just in case something goes wrong. And also, when they see a squad car in the parking lot of the school, if someone has the urge to blow up or shoot up a school, that they would second guess that. So I would never think of defunding the police. Now, I see what some of these people that want to do it, what they're thinking. They look at police as bad. All police are bad, and they're only there to make arrests and shoot tear gas and everything like that. But that's just not true. And I think it's more the younger generation that does not have the life experience as I have. I'm 66 years old. And I've seen police, and yes, I've got a couple of traffic tickets. I wasn't happy, but I did something wrong. I was going over the speed limit. And that's just the way it is in America. And I remember I was in the United Arab Emirates. I was on an aircraft carrier, the USS Abraham. We pull up a port for 4 days of R&R. And we're in a cab, and this cab's like driving through red lights and everything else. I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, you're Americans. You guys obey your laws. We never obey laws here." And I just thought that was, wow. And he's right. In America, we have laws. You must obey the laws. We're a civilized society. And I'm totally against defunding the police. Now, to answer your second question, there are police unions that get behind the police, and police officers have to pay into these unions. And sometimes these unions, how can I put it? They protect some of the officers that should not be protecting. There are some bad apples, and they need to go. So they need to kind of look at themselves, and the police force has to look at themselves, the sheriffs, the police chiefs, and if there's bad apples, you got to find a way. You just can't say, "Oh, don't do it again, don't do it again." And it looks like the officer in Minneapolis had like 17 citations for doing things that he should not have been doing. I would not want to give him one. If you're doing something wrong, I wouldn't say exactly you're fired, but if it's to the point where you're putting your knee on a guy's neck for a couple of minutes, you're gone. That type of behavior will not be tolerated in a police force. So now police are given a lot of authority. They wear a gun, they wear a badge. And some of them, it'll go to their head and they make some very poor decisions. We saw in Atlanta, the guy was running away. The guy takes a couple of shots. He ends up killing the guy. I don't know what was going through his head. In a situation where we're in today, where there's this anti-police, the last thing you want to do is let the guy run away. Just go find him later on in the day somewhere. But, shooting him in the back, I got some issues with that. But I don't know exactly what's going through his head. He just went through this big scuffle with this guy. So maybe the adrenaline was flowing. The guy turns. It looks like he might have been shooting a gun. But police officers need to take care of their own. They need to discipline their own. That's why all police departments have what they call internal affairs. Internal affairs goes after the bad cops. But sometimes even internal affairs might be corrupt. And we need to ensure that doesn't happen. So I believe the majority of police officers do a good job, and I don't believe in defunding police. I believe in maybe finding a way to make policing better and more receptive to the community. Now, the old days, you see how police would be walking down a beat, they had a whistle, and they see something, they blow the whistle, something's going wrong. That whistle was to have all the community members come out and help the police. We've kind of gotten away with that. Now the whistle means to go hide. So I think the police need to work better with the community on solving crime and things like that. So I can go.
Thank you very much for your views. And you said something about the schools. I mean, protecting the schools. I mean, the police officers has been doing it. I mean, which you have seen it. But that brings up another topic: the gun laws. Which is because those we are protecting the people is because of the gun laws. So what do you take on those? How do you have a balance between our Second Amendment and the safety of the people? I mean, because it's been there for quite a few years. We've seen many instances. So how do we balance these two?
Well, the Constitution of the United States gives all of us the right to bear arms. And it is originally put in the Constitution to ensure that the civilian populace has some type of authority over a tyrannical government. And that is, if you have a very bad government, obviously we saw what Hitler took away all the guns, and we saw what happened in there. But we have a right to bear arms, and all good gun owners know how to handle a firearm, hopefully know how to handle a firearm correctly. Now, the NRA holds classes, and when I was 16, I bought a shotgun to go dove hunting with my best friend. And before my father would let me buy that shotgun, I bought it with my own money at age 16. I had to go through a course at the NRA to how to safely handle a firearm. So I believe if you're going to buy a firearm, or because we have a right to do that, that you attend a safety course or a course to teach you how to handle safely a firearm. And I believe 99% of all gun owners are good, safe American people. Now, the criminal elements, I don't care what laws you write, they're going to get their hands on a firearm if they want to do damage with a firearm. So I don't believe all these laws that are being pondered on how to take away weapons is good for our country. If the people that do not want us to have firearms, they need to change the Constitution, and there's a proper way of changing the Constitution with a constitutional convention. You can amend the Constitution, and I believe it's 3/5 of the states to vote on it. And if that happens, and not to bear arms, then we must obey our Constitution. But right now, it's constitutionally permitted that we have a right to bear arms, and I will always protect that Second Amendment right of our citizens.
Okay. Thank you very much for your views on that. So I had one more guest earlier, and when we were talking about him, he's a libertarian. So this libertarian, I mean, his views are a little different. So they were talking about, I'm asking you this question because you're coming from the military background. So in our talk, I mean, he was mentioning about, so we should reduce the military funding. I mean, we should not go to the wars. and we should only protect our nation. Our military should work only to protect our nation, not to, poke in the other countries' politics and then get into fight with them. So what do you say about those kind of comments which are coming from the other party people about the American? American military is a great military in the world. It's a superpower. We would say we all know that. So when some group wants to reduce the funding. So what is, being a military person, and you've seen the at White House level too. So what is your opinion, and what are your take on those views?
Well, I agree. I don't think we need to be spread out all over the world, protecting every little country that we come in contact with. When I was in the military, well, first of all, the responsibility of the federal government, number one responsibility, and the way this country was formed, the federal government is supposed to be really small. And number one is national security, to maintain a secure nation through a military force for anybody that would say want to invade our nation, as we saw in Pearl Harbor when the Japanese Imperial Air Force and Navy attacked us at Pearl Harbor. Then we were attacked. I believe this current president, Donald Trump, has not gotten us into any major conflicts, which I really applaud him for that. And he's reducing forces around the world and bringing us home. And it was only after World War II that the United States became such a superpower and made all these alliances, NATO, for instance, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the relationship with Japan after the war to protect Japan, and South Korea after the Korean War, that we just got our fingers into just everywhere around the world, in the Middle East. And I think it's time, and this is coming from a military man, is to start bringing our troops home from a lot of these foreign places that the countries now can start protecting themselves. Now, if we have an alliance, i.e. NATO, where if one nation's attacked, all nations are attacked, and then we have to abide by that treaty. If we don't like that as an American, then we got to renegotiate these treaties. And I've seen President Trump has been trying to renegotiate some of these treaties, especially NATO, saying if you want us involved to help protect you against, then it was the Soviet Union, which was this large superpower. And now it's just basically Russia, which is, I believe it has the economy of Italy. It's not this huge, but it is a nuclear power. But why is Germany buying gas and oil from Russia? So they're buying this oil, giving them money, and then we got to pay Germany to protect them from Russia. So I think we need to review the alliances, especially in Europe, and the alliances in Japan and Korea, to ensure that the American taxpayers are not funding to protect the whole world. And as your libertarian friend was saying, it's maybe time to start pulling back some troops and get out of some of these smaller alliances that are no longer necessary. And I'm 100%. My son's in the military. I do not want my son all over the world dying for a cause that is not a cause that benefits the American lifestyle.
Thank you very much for all the views. So do you have any message to your constituents and our viewers and listeners at this point of time?
No, but I do want to finish up by saying, as I've tried to reiterate through this interview, that I've served my whole life honorably. I have a wonderful family. I've been married 38 years to a beautiful wife, Lucy. We have 3 wonderful children, a son who's a major in the Marine Corps. My twin daughters are both school teachers. We have 6 grandchildren. I couldn't be more proud. I'm at the twilight of my life where I should be enjoying life, maybe going on some vacations, but I've decided to once again serve my community by running for U.S. Congress. And it's not this personal ambition that I got to be a U.S. Congressman because if I win or when I win, it's not something that I'm not going to do for 20 years. I'll do it for a few years and I'll pass the mantle off to somebody else. But I want to once again serve my community because I think we can do better than we're doing now. And as a Republican, as a fiscal conservative, and as a social conservative, I want to bring that to our community. I listen to all people in our community, and I want to serve them. My website, if it's okay to mention, is gregraths.com. It's very simple, gregraths.com. You can learn more about me. What you see is what you get. I have no hidden agenda. I'm not this big trumper. We got to keep Trump in there. You know, I do respect our elected officials. I do respect our both Republicans and Democrats, and also obviously the independents. I respect them. It's the views or some of their policies that I have problems with, and I want to bring my views, and I think which is the majority of the views of the district, to Washington to represent these people. And I will never do anything to upset my constituents in any way. I will be an honorable congressman. I will serve with integrity. I will serve with honesty like I have my whole life. So I do thank you for having me on to get the word out. What you see is what you get. Just a good, loving American. Grew up in a wonderful family, an intact family. My parents set the stage. They both have passed, but I'm trying to do what they did to me and my brothers and sisters, to my family, and then to my grandchildren now. So you guys have been great. But like I said, I'm an open book, and I'm here to help.
Thank you very much, Greg Rath, and good luck with your run. And talk to you again sometime later. Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys very much.
Have a nice day. Have a nice rest of the day.